Hello, traders, and welcome in a new weekly live analysis session. Today is the beginning of a new trading week. It's Monday, the 14th of November, 2022. And this weekly live analysis session is brought to you by the market research team at ONEPRO. This is Mohammad Yaoud, and I'm the head of market research. As usual, basically by the beginning of each week, we have this weekly live session to discuss more about the markets. What do we have on our economic agenda? What are the main risk events that we should look for, as well as the key technical setups that we might be having during the week? Basically, during last week's live analysis session, we discussed further weakness on the US dollar, which might give some strength on the gold as well as the euro and the pound. Most of what we discussed during the last week basically happened during the week, thanks to the CPI numbers. So today we're going to have a quick look on the markets, what is on our agenda, and how can we trade the markets during this week. It's a little bit lighter than the last week. So let's have a quick look and start with the economic agenda for this week. Just to be on the same page, please make sure that if you have any questions regarding any of the ideas or trade setups that we are actually discussing during the weekly live session, you can leave us a comment right now. It's a live session, so you can engage with us, so we can basically give you and provide to you the analysis that you're looking for on the spot. If you have something to discuss, if you have something to ask for, we are here to help you. Starting off with the economic agenda, and today is basically Monday, the 14th of November. We can see that on the economic agenda, we have just a couple of things to look for. Starting with a speech from the chairman from the Swiss National Bank. Basically, we are expecting a speech from Chairman Jordan. It isn't as important. However, markets will be looking for this. The FOMC member, Brainard, will be having another speech today. And as we agreed, as we have been discussing for the past maybe 2 weeks, especially after the FOMC meeting, which gave no hints or clues about the future monetary policy. What should we expect from the Federal Reserve in the upcoming meeting in December, especially that the CPI numbers started to ease and basically exceeded market expectations. So expectations were around 8% for the CPI, and it basically came lower than that. So inflation is starting a little bit to ease. Markets at the moment are expecting around 85% that the next meeting will be having only 50 basis points instead of 75 basis points rate hike, which means that we might see a slowing down of the tightening procedure or the tightening policy starting from the next week, like next meeting. So during this week and during this remaining of the month until the next meeting, basically any FOMC member speeches will be very important to watch for, because we will be having some hints or clues about what does the FOMC members expect to happen during the next meeting. So this is something that we should be watching for today, the FOMC speech by member Brainard. Tomorrow, basically Tuesday, the 15th of November, we'll be having the monetary policy meeting minutes from the Reserve Bank of Australia, which is something that we will be looking for. Reserve Bank of Australia was one of the first central banks to slow down the pace of tightening. Basically, instead of 50 basis points, we're having a couple of 25 basis points of rate hikes during the past few meetings. And we want to know whether this will continue going forward or not. We do have the employment numbers from the British economy on the British pound. We have the German ZEW economic sentiment. It is somehow important to look for. And of course, we have the producer price index. Markets will want to see also the producer price index, which is a secondary measure of inflation, easing down a little bit. Forecasts basically show that we might have another increase on a monthly basis. Instead of 0.4%, we might be having at 0.5%. So we want to know whether the CPI is only easing alone, or we might be having other inflation measures as well easing at the same time. For the core CPI, it's as well expected to go higher from 0.3% to 0.4% for this reading. Basically, this week we'll see the G20 meetings in Indonesia. And we were having a little bit of discussions about those meetings because many member states basically requested from Indonesia not to invite the Russian President Vladimir Putin for the G20 meetings. Indonesia mentioned that we cannot do this without the consent of all of the members. Russian President Vladimir Putin mentioned that he might be attending the meetings via video conference. However, we want to know what will happen. The G20 meetings are supposed to discuss more of the economic side of the G20 economies. However, of course, we are expecting that this year the G20 meetings will be highlighted by the major political and geopolitical tensions going on between Russia and Ukraine. So this is something that we will be looking for during this meeting on Wednesday. Basically, we have a lot of numbers. However, the key numbers that we will be looking for is another speech or another expected speech by the ECB President Christine Lagarde, which is also key to listen. We have some data from the Canadian economy regarding the CPI numbers year over year. And to me, that's basically it. And yeah, of course, the CPI on a yearly basis for the British economy, which is expected to have some sort of a recession during this year's end, basically as per the Bank of England's expectation. As well as on Thursday, the 17th of November, the key thing is the FOMC member Mester's speech. As we agreed, this is something key to watch, as well as member Bullard, and we will be having the autumn forecast statement from the British or the UK. Basically, this is it was supposed to be announced by the Halloween. However, the Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt requested a delay and a postponed statement for this year, because basically we are expecting to see some changes that should support the British economy during the next period. And also as well, we will be having the unemployment and employment rates for the Australian economy. We end the week with another expected speech by ECB President Christine Lagarde, as well as the retail sales data for the British pound. And this is basically it. So we have a lot of numbers, a lot of economic figures to be announced. However, not all of them are basically as much as important. The key thing that we will be looking for during this week should be the G20 meetings, as well as speeches, multiple speeches from the FOMC members and 2 speeches from ECB President Christine Lagarde, and that's basically it. So we don't have that major risk event. However, from time to time, we might be seeing some statements that will be adding more volatility on the markets. Let's have a quick look on the technical analysis, and let's dive deep into what do we expect as per the technical analysis. Starting with the US dollar, basically, we mentioned during the last week that we do expect this weakness. However, we mentioned that the levels of 108.50 should be a key support to end this downward move. However, due to much softer US CPI numbers, we had this break to the downside. And to me, basically, as long as the US CPI is easing, I do believe that the monetary tightening phase is about to end, or it's at least about to slow down a little bit during the next period. And hence, this top on the US dollar, which was formed around 114.80, might be the highest levels of the US dollar during this whole upward trend that we are having basically since June or May of 2021. So this upward trend, which was supported by monetary tightening by the Federal Reserve and raising interest rates, etc., I do believe that this might have ended here around the 114.75. Of course, it's too early to judge this by only one softer US CPI data. However, let's see how it goes. In the time being, basically, the US dollar is bearish at the moment. We can see here that by the beginning of this trading week, the US dollar is trying to hold its ground around the levels of 106.80. So from here, I do really expect a retest to the levels of support that we mentioned as basically support, previously support. Now it's broken, so it should act as a strong resistance around the levels of 108 points. So in case This was basically the downward move. We do expect a retracement of 23.6 to 38.20% of Fibonacci as the retracement. It should stop here and we will be continuing the move downward to the levels of 104.64. And this is basically what we expect on the US dollar during this week. On the other hand, the euro basically reached the targets that we mentioned. We had three targets during the last weekly analysis session. The first one was 1.01, 1.02 roughly, and 1.0375. We had this brilliant upward move. We reached three targets, 1, 2, and 3. So from here, basically, we do expect a retracement, just like the US dollar. However, on the other side, okay, so from here, we will be looking at technically, basically, this is a good level of support. So it's 1.0121, or probably let's maybe 0120. So basically, this is a cluster of support from this previous resistance now should act as support, as well as the Fibonacci level 38.20%. So by the beginning of this week, during maybe today and tomorrow, we might see a retracement and a downward move on the euro versus the US dollar of around 190 pips, after which we can add on our long positions on the euro to target more potential gains on the short and the medium term. The pound is basically pretty much the same. However, the pound is a little bit volatile at the moment because we just broke above the downward trend that we were trading inside or below basically since the 23rd of February. So this is something that we should highly watch. Yes, we are expecting a downward move from here, which is the level of resistance 1.1822. However, will this downward move stop and basically be a resistance and be a retracement before continuing the move to the upside, or will the pound continue diving lower and basically form a forwards breakout here? So this is the key. Basically, it depends on not only the US dollar, however, on how the British pound will be trading this week with the announcement of the plan by Jeremy Hunt. So we will be watching this. However, to start off the week, we will be looking to short the pound versus the US dollar, at least with another 200 pips to the downside. I do believe this is a very good level of as a target. So we are currently trading at 1.1758. We are looking for 1.16 as a potential target on the pound versus the US dollar on the short time frame. Having a look on gold, basically gold is brilliant on the technical side because what happened with the US CPI numbers is basically a brilliant move to the upside. This move basically broke above the downward price channel that we mentioned before. So prices here were not able, in this level, prices were not able to break below the last low formed here. So we had two bottoms around the same level. So it's a clear double bottom pattern or a W pattern, which is basically a reversal pattern on the daily time frame. We broke above the neckline, which is around 1731, which we had as our previous target from the previous week. Starting off, we can see that this week the gold is trading slightly lower, especially during the Asian session and by the beginning of the European session. So from here, basically, I do really want to see a retest to the levels of 1731, which should now act as a support. After a successful retest of the 1731 and after seeing some bullish price action from here, I do believe that the double bottom pattern should be confirmed and we will be having our medium-term targets on gold around the levels of 1870 roughly. So we are having some clear vision on the gold trading. However, let's first wait for this retest. A retest during this week of around $27 to $28, I mean 280 pips roughly, is expected by the beginning of the week, after which we will be waiting for some bullish price action from here to enter some long positions on US on gold price versus the US dollar, and we will be adding to as the trend continues to the upside. Basically, the US oil is not the best to trade at the moment. It's moving in a sideways range, and basically the price action is contracting a little bit here. So we can see we are trading inside a symmetrical triangle in this manner. So we are having a series of lower highs and higher lows. So basically, just to start off, let's say that we are currently trading at around 88.62. We expect a continuation of this upward move. Our target should be around 92.37. It basically should be clear on the 4-hour time frame. So this is what we are talking about. A series of lower highs and higher lows. This upward move basically should extend to the levels of 92.20. Let's say this level is what we will be looking for as our potential target on the US crude oil during this week. To end today's session, basically, let's have a look on the US Dow Jones. The US Dow Jones is basically bullish, very bullish at the moment. Not technically, however, the risk sentiment in the US stock markets have improved so much after the softer US CPI figure. So basically, people are willing to go buy stocks on the long term. On the long term, we are bullish on the US Dow Jones. However, let's talk during this week. During this week, basically, we can see technically that the Dow Jones was having so much momentum. And here the momentum started easing a little bit. So from the levels of resistance, 34,100 points, this is because a clear resistance. Let's mention this as a clear resistance here. And just because the momentum, you can see down, the momentum is having a bit of a release. So from here, I'll be looking for very quick short trades on the Dow Jones during this week, especially that on the 11th of November, Friday, this doji is something that we should take note of. So from here, basically, and on the short time frame, I'll be looking on the US Dow Jones, maybe on the 30 minutes time frame. I'll wait for a lower low. I mean, as soon as we break below this level of 33,400, I'll be looking to short the US Dow Jones on the short time frame. Just during this week, I'll be looking maybe for 300 or 400 pips during this week to the downside before continuing the move to the upside, breaking above this key resistance 34,100 and continuing the move higher. As we agreed, because the US dollar might have ended this upward trend, the primary upward trend, as well as the US Dow Jones, as well as all of the US indices might have ended as well. This downward move, this might be the bottom for the US markets during this year and during this whole monetary tightening cycle, because you can see that the same also applies for the S&P. The S&P is a little weaker. However, in case the Federal Reserve comments or the comments from members supported that the US CPI is good enough, and any comments that we will be only seeing 50 basis points during the next meeting, this definitely means that the bottom on the US stock markets are already on the chart. We will not be going any lower. So that was basically all for today's weekly live analysis session. If you have any comments, you can leave it later on during the week on this video on Facebook or on YouTube. Just leave a comment with what you want basically to have a look on, and we'll definitely reply within the same day with our analysis on the financial asset that you requested. If you have any questions on the fundamental or on the technical side, we are here to cover you. We have got you covered. So thank you so much for watching this, and please stay tuned for another weekly analysis session next week. And during the remaining of this week, basically, we will be updating or keeping you updated with our weekly and daily markets outlook, where it's a short video, 3 to 4 minutes, posted on a daily basis on our social media and YouTube channel to keep you updated with our weekly analysis, what happened with our technical setups. When is our entry trigger basically on any technical setup that we mentioned, and what do we expect if we change our bias basically on any signal here that we mentioned? It will be posted daily on the daily markets outlook. So we will keep you updated. Please follow us, and you will find everything here at ONEPRO. Thank you so much for watching this. We will meet up again next week. Please have a good week, and please stay safe with your trading. See you.